You're recording it. That's good. Yeah, you gotta say that's correct. You have to say something about the chat. Testing. Hello, hello. Can you hear me out there? Yes. Thank you all so much for coming to yet another meetup, yet another PyData meetup. And definitely want to thank Granger for allowing us to connect with you all here. So let's give all the Granger folks a round of applause. Thanks, Granger people. And also want to give Mehdi a round of applause back there, one of the PyData organizers. And then finally, give yourselves a round of applause for coming out here. It's always fun to connect with everybody and have a fun conversation. And without further ado, I introduce Mr. Jeff Ryan here and his new project, rpeat. His new old project, rpeat. Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, it seems like it, right? Yeah. Okay, you hear me? Okay. Let me try and find the whatever little remote. So yes, I am Jeff, as Justin said. This is definitely not a new project. We actually started, or I started building it maybe in 2000, and we've been using it since then, 24/7. It is pretty well vetted. I've definitely spent a lot of time thinking about it and filling in features based on things I needed. Not things anybody asked for, because most people couldn't see this for quite a few years, but this is kind of the result. And now there are people using this in the wild, and they've definitely been very helpful in pointing things out that they like or don't like or would like to see more of. So without any addition, my title this deck I've used before, just in case anybody's ever seen it before, or some of it I've used. But the intention was, it does this, right? It's like, it repeats the stuff you're doing, and it repeats it not just in like, it runs it every time, it also repeats the output somewhere else for you. Let's see if I can go, maybe. Nope. Down. Okay, background, which is really, part one is just the old slide deck. This is the background. So, by the way, this deck amuses me more than anyone else, so just bear with me. This is our mascot. It's weird because he has this passing resemblance to the crazy guy from Joule as well, like the Joule Osco thing. But no, best I know. Not done any DNA testing, but no. Actually, his motivation came from, do you ever watch the cartoon? Oh man, I can never remember the name of the cartoon. I'll remember it later. It's Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Yes. Yeah, there's the big, tall basketball guy. I can't remember his name now. But so he's more than a passing resemblance to him. Anyway, mascot. The reason he's a mascot, or that he's even here, is that I want to make it very clear that this software is very opinionated, and they are not my opinions. They are his opinions, or whatever it is. So not me, definitely not me. The challenge is, the reason this software exists at all is you need to really write code to do stuff. I don't like to write code. I do write a lot of code, sadly. But I write code to do things. So it's always an end goal, not the journey. He is not an engineer, more of like the hacker-ish kind of person, like get stuff done. I'll deal with the consequences later. Trying to make my own life or his life easier. Polyglot, this is actually the biggest reason this thing exists, is that I don't write in one language. I write in lots of different things, whatever happens to be required for the situation at hand. So it could be scripting, it could be Python, it could be Go, it could be R, it could be anything. So you got this universe of things I need to run, somehow do it. I need to do this daily, hourly, minutely, every week, every month for years. And the last two are that's me mostly. It's I don't really trust others and I'm super opinionated, which you may have already figured out. So the search started here or sort of here. And this is like a monstrously common question online, like what's an alternative to cron? And these are just some of them. It's kind of bonkers. Like, so the biggest ones that you'd find these days, and this, like, whenever you ask this question, some of them would be highlighted more than others. And man, it took a lot of will to not do some airflow jokes here, but we'll leave it alone. That airflow is kind of the biggest, the 800-pound gorilla. And and then prefect is a very Python-esque one. But there's a bunch of everyone's called cron, right? There's bcron, mcron, cron, anacron, fcron. They all do different things. And it's partly because cron's really old, like crazy. I mean, there are other things in this room around the same age as cron, but cron's pretty old. But there are a lot of choices. My super annoying, or Pete's super annoyance, was the fact that with a lot of them, you have to write Python to run other things, which just blew my mind. Like, I can't run R code if I have to write Python code to run R code. It just seems like I now have a Python problem and an R problem, and also just didn't seem right. Like, kind of not unholy, but somewhere in that realm. No offense to Python again. I want to make that very clear. But the same way, I think if it was written in R, I wouldn't want to use it either because I have other things to write. Like, it just can't be that way. And cron is not. Cron is just, there's no language. Cron just says, I'll run this thing whenever. So also a big deal these days with all the schedulers is DAGs. Everyone's directed graphs are everywhere. Not everything is a directed graph. But it turns out that's the way the world seems to think. So that was dumb to me. And then, or to Pete, sorry. I confused these. And then installation, again, I don't know why. Cron, I don't have to install, it just works. Or I'd have to use conda to install something else, to install a server, to install a database that I need to run the server. Everything just spiraled out of control. Then you get into the versioning. I have to use a particular version of Python to run my R with extra. I don't even know where that's going. Airflow docs, you ever tried? You can't get the PDF anymore, or at least I haven't seen it. But the PDF for Airflow docs is literally 400 plus pages. Doesn't make any sense. I will gladly write 400 lines or pages of code before I read 400 pages of somebody else's documentation. Except for yours, maybe. I bet yours is great. Yeah. Unless you wrote the Airflow one. Okay, yeah. It's actually pretty good documentation. It's just a lot of it. And then my take cron, I could never figure out where anything was going. It was it would run, but didn't see where, his joke, I don't really know if the email goes to dev null, but it just disappears. So it's gone. And then hosting your own mail server, that's that's a full-time job, actually. And then there are stupid things I just want the last day of trading for the month. And that's not easy to solve. It's kind of not easy to solve anyway, generally speaking, but it's just a lot harder with tools that don't even care. So those are my Pete's problems. And then because I've written a lot of open source, it had to be open source. Actually, it was open source before I made it public, but I made it open source. But now I made it public. No dependencies, as I said before. I don't like other code breaking my code. That's the worst day always, where somebody else ruins it for me. I am very good at ruining my own code. Don't need other help. No configuration. Kind of wanted it to be like cron, just a little bit better. And then in the same way, I didn't want to have to install anything, do extra stuff, just should work. And the language agnostic, back to it can run Python, it can run Perl, it could run whatever you want, bash scripts. That's just the way it should work. No, there is no exception to that. It's I can't be using another language to run other languages. That makes no sense. Licensing, as an open source author for 20 years, lots of commercial companies have stolen open source plus or minus and not given anything back. And so licensing is a weird one. This one I made dual license. So like it's AGPL, which means if you host a server, you have to make it open source too. The A part of that causes that. Or if you don't want to pay, if you don't want to have the AGPL, I'll gladly write you a commercial license. And if I like you, it'll be free. And if I don't like you, it won't be free. So at least I can protect it so nobody is going to compete with this future effort with my own code. And then again, no dependencies, cross-platform. I guess that's kind of important. It really runs on everything out of the box. And then this is literally how you configure it and get it. So you, and somebody told me, one of my good friends told me that like on a Mac, wget doesn't need, you have to install wget on a Mac, which is disappointing in so many ways. But so I'll fix that. But whatever, it should actually have a better download facility. But whatever, this is it. You just download the server, and then it runs. That's it. No, nothing else. It takes 2 seconds. I'll show you. This is what it does. There's like a lot of stuff it does, and it started with I think a GUI and like emails. And then as it got more complex, as it got more baked into our systems, I needed other things, and all these things came about, which means it's actually feature parity plus or minus, or even better than many of the other tools that are out there. This is not at all a contrived table that I came up with to make sure that, yeah, it just happens to be that repeat wins in all categories. But it's actually true. It's not like I deleted theirs. They're rad. So this is the architecture of it, if anybody cares. More or less, there's the server that you download. The little pieces at the top are ways you interact with the server. And then from there, the stuff in green is either some of it's vaporware, not all of it. Actually, none of it's really vaporware, but like that's the stuff that maybe could be better in the future, but it's not core. And then everything's a configuration file. Super simple. Some of them look like this if you would like XML, or you can write it in JSON. Sometimes JSON looks nicer. Sometimes XML is nicer. It can translate between the two. It doesn't care. So, but you can see it's pretty basic. It's like, in fact, the only thing you need is, actually, you don't need anything really. A name is handy because you want to see what it is. The command, if you didn't have a command, it'd be kind of useless, but you don't really have to have a command. The start time, if you didn't have a start time, it's just going to be, you can press it to start the button. So you could have a job that you just wanted to run whenever, some news comes in, you want to kick this thing off, you can press go, or a real schedule. You can actually have multiple schedules. No other tool does this very well, but this does, like disjoint schedules. Calendars, like real calendars. You can define your own calendars. We have calendars that aren't quite baked into it, but very easy to use. And then this is what the screen looks like, dashboard. The dashboard used to be I think it's very nice now. So I don't want to diminish my efforts here, but it used to be really ugly, definitely. And then I got kind of mocked for it by a good friend. And so I fixed it. Now it looks like a fancy dashboard that you'd expect out of a company that was actually making this thing instead of just me. But it is, you can kind of see on there like all the stuff it might be doing. And I think I have slides that show a little bit of what they do. Yeah, right. So there's the schedule, like I want to run it at a particular time. This gets rendered in the time zone that you ask. So there might be like, if I run a job for Japan, I don't really want to do the translation of the time in my head. So I want to say run it at, open in Japan. And so I know the time open and I pick the time zone. Time zones are, every one of these things runs on their own. There's nothing behind the scenes that's like tying them all together except for something that's kicking them off. And not on a regular, they're all independent. They don't run on a clock, not like cron where it's every minute that kicks off. These are all independent. They're all separate routines. They're just kind of coordinated in this dashboard and in the server. But so you can see that schedule. I don't know if I have detail of it. Probably not. Whoa, why are these? Hold on a second. Okay, I'm going to switch over because this is not my deck I really wanted. Hold on one second. Oh, I've lost control. It's weird. Okay. So what's the easiest way for me to switch to the PDF? Something's wonky on this. I don't know. Well, I think it's like the Zoom is going to flip me over to the wrong thing, I guess. No, I think there's a window in there that's actually got it. Yeah, if you just share the screen again. Yeah, let's do that. I think maybe scroll down a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Yep. All my work today was gone. I think you should be able to make it. Oh no, wait, how's that? Oh yeah, so it's in the browser again. Yeah, that's fine. No, it doesn't like it. Where did Zoom go? Is it off the screen? Maybe it's on the other side or something. I think like I think it might be over here somewhere. Where do you see it there? Ah, there you go. Okay, sorry about that. I think so. Yeah. Okay. I think we are. I think we're back. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Yep, that's fine. Okay, so can everybody? Yeah, everybody can see this, right? Yeah. Okay, so we've moved from the nicer version to this, I guess. But at least it's got content. So you can see, again, the dashboard was just supposed to be able to see what was running, and it's kind of revolved over time to give you much more detail. So here, there's like a little icon. You can just hover over a lot of things, kind of get a context. You can also drill into them a little bit more. But here you can see the jobs running, the process ID, things like retries. You can set up different retries. That's gonna be bad. Second. The dependency. So I think I alluded to this, that you can actually make jobs depend on other jobs. So back to my like anti-directed graph thing. It's a graph. And you can, but it's arbitrary. You can basically say, I need this to depend on these 4 different things. They don't need to be in the same graph. They can pick them up off the schedule or anywhere. So you can, like in this instance, say, I always need the Mongo server to be running for a downstream job. That's going to be a requirement of other jobs. It's not like it's baked into its own graph or one graph. There's just, it's kind of there for the picking, whatever job knows about it. And jobs don't know about other jobs unless you have permission to see them. Everything is highly permissioned inside of the platform. So you can share it with other people, you can share it with other teams, teams especially that you don't trust maybe, or who shouldn't be able to see things. This is my hedge fund person speaking, I guess. There's a little more secrecy inside of hedge funds. So in this case, like maybe somebody never gets to see the downloaders. And then they'd be hidden here. That literally not just hidden, but they're not available from the user login space. Again, schedulers, which I may have shown you before. I guess there's ironically nothing detailed there. You can see as they're running. You can see things that are live, the little open green thing. The closed green ones are finished. Again, this is much better if you don't have to scroll through, but well, maybe not much better, but it's better. The controls, so again, you can start it, you can pause it, you can restart them, you can kill them, depending on what's going on. Obviously, ideally, you don't do any of those things, but they're also all programmable. They're also all like you can say, stop this job after a certain period of time. Pause it, all that stuff is part of the scheduling logic. Very simple logic. As you saw, that configuration is pretty much it. Does more than that, but historical runs, again, you can hover over, see runtime, see, why they failed, maybe why they failed. There's obviously logging, which is, if you click down the little info button, like here, then, or the details button, it gets you to a page that has these pieces on it, which would be like a full history. You can dig into the actual logs, like standard error out. And then on the side, you can see it'll do alerting. So either regular, you can tie it into your Gmail. I also have like a SaaS backend, which is really just for me at this moment, that does all of that for you. So like very turnkey. I want whatever the state change was, like if the job goes into a failed state, I want to be notified that. If I want it to be just like anytime it finishes, all by job, all specified, who it goes to, very highly configurable. There's a bunch of utilities. There's another function or another tool that comes with this that does things like renders the scheduler or the schedule in advance. So you kind of make sure it's going to run at the times you want. And then there's like a whole validation suite that will take your configs and run through them and prove that you're not missing something or that they look like they're running at the right time. You can see warnings, errors. It's not a requirement to run this, but it's definitely helpful, especially if you have anything in production where you'd want to make sure you don't have something missing like environment variable set. There's a bunch of things that you can't see on here because it's a pretty complicated piece of software. This is, yeah. So my alerts that they really do go to your phone, and I'll keep reusing this deck because I actually bought these stock images and they're never going away now. So, but this really works. This is a real screenshot. It's slightly edited, but like nonetheless, the screenshot is from my phone. And so it's actually from today. So it is like what's running on our backend servers. So it's custom to whomever the user is. Again, at some point they will be actually encrypted at rest. And then, yeah, like all of these are very real. Anybody's ever run anything, this is like exactly where I'm looking at these things. And then that's not really true because it's usually like this. But which really sucks because that is exactly what it is. But on the plus side, they're all green, so this is a good day, but occasionally not, and then you got to dig into it. The cool part of the dashboard is the number of times I have found something broken, and then, whatever, like say the network was down, or the endpoint that I'm hitting was down, or something else that I wasn't thinking about was down, or like I had changed the configuration somewhere else. Maybe I checked in code that I wasn't careful enough about. I can go back in and just changing the code that it's running, and you can press go again, and like everything's back to normal, right? It's all running again. You got the logs, you got the archive of it all. There's log rotation built into here, so you can do whatever, get rid of the logs over time. Log rotation, the reason that's there is because at one point I realized my machine had run out of storage because I had north of like 2 terabytes of logs. So that was probably not good, but now it does, and it handles that for you now, or can, all configurable. Sorry, this would be better if I could click. And then this is what I picture Airflow user to be. Some old lady at the beach in her 1990s phone trying to get support. You don't need support for rpeat, by the way. You could, but you really don't. So part 2, which will be quick, is what's new. What's new is, look, I made themes because people like different colors. And I thought it was cool. Actually, the themes had been in there. They just weren't very usable. So now they work. And you can do everything you want, but I kind of baked in some simple ones. Another thing, this is actually a very real use case. I mean, themes are useful too, but a way to mark like different types of servers that you're running. Like you could have, some whatever, pre-production or production or whatever, just a way to like tag them so they're a little more visibly identifiable. Obviously, you could change a name too, but not quite there. You could color the name differently with the styling and so forth. This is like just that one little liner in the CSS that you write. Super trivial. Maybe one day it won't be just even the CSS, but you can do everything. You can change it all to be some crazy thing. I tried to find in some of those call out boxes that I made in the like the little arrow. There is no in Keynote for reference, or at least I couldn't find it. In Keynote, they don't have a little arrow picture, but they have like every other picture imaginable that I could glue into the presentation. So all the arrows I did actually have earlier today, they were all turkeys, because like why that's an image that I can glue into my presentation and not the arrow pointer, I don't know. But maybe we can even add a turkey. Then this is new too. Because it's all a server and because it runs off of an API, there's both WebSocket and RESTful interface to it. So you can use I won't claim it's a Python package, but it is kind of. So you can use Python to interact with the scheduler and the job. So if you have some complicated flow that isn't just like throw it in the scheduler, but you're really requiring some other dependencies, or even to trigger jobs on here based on some other event that's not in the scheduler again, or just checking on status of whatever artifact or something, all of those are available in the API. It's the same API that the front end is using, just exposed, but they're all permissioned. You can see, well, you can't see it there, but there's like, you need to have your permission set or your username and such set. But then you have access to whatever subset of the data that you're allowed to see, because it is all, it's all permissioned. And then this is brand new. Well, I've had it for a while, but like it's brand new. It's basically a shell that runs independent of the scheduler because it runs its own scheduler. So what it means is you can run a job that gets alerts. Permission is probably less useful, but alerts. It can have dependencies. It can have retries. It can do all of that stuff from the command line. So I can do, like, my biggest use case was overnight, I want to backtest something, or overnight, I want to run like a fitting job, or overnight, I want to run some like processing job. And I don't really want it to be on the scheduler, like I'm just testing something, but I want all the logs. So when I wake up in the morning, I can look at the logs, because usually I would just forget to pipe them somewhere, and then they're obviously all gone. And 4 hours or 10 hours or 45 hours of compute is gone. So this makes it very easy to run basically everything that the scheduler has, but in a shell environment, like a one-off job that gets to be fully recorded, fully permissioned, all so forth. So that'll be a little bit easy. I mean, it's pretty easy to use now, but it'll be easier at some point in the future too. And then I never do this. And given that I couldn't even get Zoom to work perfectly, or this might be a dumb idea. I'm gonna go on record as this is a dumb idea. Live. Yeah, now let's see. Well, actually, so is it possible? Let's see, where is my?
Ask a question later.
Yep. Yeah.
So where does everything run on this?
It can run, so because basically everything, sorry, let's see if I can. Hard to believe you can't. Oh, here we go. Oh man, I could have done that. So if you look here, I'll show you actually the better version of this. But the command actually is intentionally, it's exactly the command that you would run in cron. Like, so you need to set, like cron doesn't give you a shell to begin with. So you can use any shell, including SSH, to go to any box. So the dumbest version of this is you can SSH to another box. All the standard out, everything comes over. The downside is because there is, and I do this, mind you, so you can run it on any box. The scheduler doesn't need to be there. It's just, again, it's just a remote shell. I mean, it could be RSH, right? But you can do whatever because it's running a subprocess. So it's very simple. At some future point, it will be smarter and actually have like a high availability cluster effectively, so they can talk to each other and fail over and all of that. Right now, not. You can definitely run, because they're very small footprint. They take 0 CPU, very little memory when they run. It's just the jobs that are running really that are the only thing. You can run as many of these as you want to because they're not like one monstrous system like an Airflow. It is literally just like one off. So you don't need to have like a separate cron tab for it. You do whatever. It's just like you can spin up. So you could have a data ingestion one, you could have an ML pipeline one, you can do all that. And with the API, you could even like stitch them together. They don't stitch together at the moment in any great way, just because I haven't really thought of a way to do that nicely. But let's see. So if I were to try and change this from, the Zoom is throwing me off a little bit. Is that Zoom?
Yes.
Yes. So if I go to the terminal, actually. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the one that's like pretty empty. No, all those are not.
Screen actually. That might do.
Yeah, that works.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, let's see if I can find it.
Just gonna bring that real quick too. All right, go for it.
Okay, I'm gonna. Let's see. Very hard to see on this tiny little screen. Okay, I think it's kind of this one. No, it's not that one. Almost that one. 2 seconds. It is a great screensaver. That's because it's the best car in the world. Well, the best brand of cars in the world. Okay. But that's not my car. I don't know. Is it a park? Should ask AI. Yes. Okay, so here we go. Let's see. Oh man, I think I lost. Okay, this is gonna be like super clean install. So can you even see the screen? It seems really tiny. Yeah, I think I can. I mean, sure. That good? Is that a little better? Justin. Well, look at Doug. Doug, get here. Okay. So back to, I'm not going to try and switch over to the other screen, but the installation part is this, right? It was the wget, which I luckily had installed ahead of time on my Mac. And you go get the one for your machine, your hardware. It's on the web page, which, oh, actually, and I can just show you the web page, but whatever, we'll skip that for the second. And so brand new install. Okay, I'm not going to do anything else. No fit. Oh, sorry about that. I already had one on here, so let's get rid of the ones we have. Okay. So like nothing up my sleeves. Go get it again. That looks okay. And now we will just start it, which that'll save you guys the problem of me typing. But here it's the server and start command. There are a bunch of subcommands. All right, this is actually a reasonable thing to show. So these are all the subcommands you can use. Start, stop, blah, 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 blah. It also does like TLS encryption, so you can generate a cert for yourself, which is a pain to run locally, or it's not a pain, but it's still wonky. But do a cert, whatever. But if we go back to the actual command, I lost it. There we go. And it's away. So the reason all that stuff at the top here, it's a brand new install, but it's the same. I've run this before. So there's like an old demo config. So it's not, it doesn't break because it's old or whatever. Just it picks up where it left off and runs. The little mascot, by the way, you notice it's not the same mascot because this used to have a different name and it used to be a crab. And I like the crab and I can't really make ASCII art of that guy. So he's currently the server mascot, I guess. But this is the logging that's coming back. Very bad on this screen, but you can kind of see what's going on. And then I can also, whoa, we're way off the screen now. Make this one bigger. Okay. So I will find us if I can. Man, very hard to see anything on here. Okay. So there's your server. It's running, and you can see live that you can, press go. I can also stop it. It pauses itself, unpause itself, run it. I can restart it. There's only so much fun you can have doing that, but you can also look at the actual details of the job, which is really bad on the screen, but whatever. So point is, a lot of stuff going on. Very easy to get anything like the details. Whatever. I can't use my mouse apparently, but kind of see what's going on. Then, since you guys are Python. Look, I can even, so connect or load the package, connect to the server, and then I can do stuff like, I don't know, stop it, I guess. And then if we go back to here, it looks like it stopped, right? So now it's like broken more or less. So I can, that I think I screwed up. There we go. There we go. Something wonky going on, but should I kill it? No, go back to our server and I get started again. What's that? What's that? It just says hello world. Yeah, this is a super dumb one. What I would like to ask is if somebody has any suggestions for good examples, because I am bad at coming up with good examples, I will say. Because I would use all the examples we actually run it on. That doesn't seem like a good idea. So I really would like some, simple ML pipeline, a simple, like something outside of what's in my head. So anybody with a suggestion on a good example that I can put up here, not now, but like in future space, would be nice. And then I think, nope, that's not it. So I think this is where we were at, maybe. Yes. API repeater. Okay, so I mean, I think I at least proved it's very easy to run, right? And then last part is, I don't think I have anything else. Is just, yeah, like I've got a zillion things that are possible here that are like in the queue, like for instance, artifact generation and like publishing artifacts, triggers off of artifacts, have, I wrote them down, but there's a lot, basically a whole bunch of things in the queue. But out of this, is there something that's like, I don't know, immediately question on like either technically how it works or why you would use it or why I use it or why it's different or better or what case don't you use? Like any, I don't know, any question on anything? Nobody has a question. Jay has a question, of course. Yes, Jay. Okay, I think I said one, but sure. Okay.
So on this, I talked about the running servers like that. Right?
Yes.
So I think one of the things is like a lot of that stuff is all system D now, right? So is there a possibility, like if I went and just did a system D start, right, for a particular service or shop, right? Is there a way this can get folks back in system D land, right? So that you can have systems like database servers, what have you, that are running on the host that are also managed by system D. Where you can take a system D config in, or you have a vice versa control over running system D service unit. Because I think, like in modern Linux right now, everything's getting pushed towards system D, and this would be a great dashboard on top. Or if I have a job that's dependent on Postgres being up, but Postgres is not being managed on it.
Yep.
Right, that's one thing. Second thing is AWS created, right? The SSH to AWS host. Right, if I can separate out storage and compute, say, can you write the output
Yep.
to this S3 bucket?
Yeah. This goes back to the artifact side because you can change all of this stuff as configurable. And this actually also has like the artifact thing is sufficiently advanced that it does do like basically pre-signed keys to put wherever you need, whether it's S3. I mean, that's the easiest default to think of, but it could be anywhere. Right, it doesn't need to be there. So it doesn't need to be pre-signed keys. It can really go anywhere. So. Yeah, I think the external compute is one thing, like a hook to say run this on whatever, an EC2 box or some other Lambda-ish type farm or whatever, would be neat. I don't know, I'm in that general vein, I think a little less of the former question, but like in the ability to like run pre-built tasks effectively, like, because I think there's a lot of common things. Like you could think of, write to S3 as a task and you could just give it the parameter, like maybe an artifact, like you have a separate job that says, write this artifact that comes out of here when it's done, or the artifact being produced is enough to be done as a trigger. And then it rolls, oh, it's weird, I don't think I had. Then it would be able to like pick that up and do with it, as need be, but like those are, I think I wouldn't want to write those triggers all the time. Like it's, you know, it kind of, and I don't even know the right way to phrase it, but I would like these triggers to be a little more generic. Like you could say the job I want to run is not just a job, it is a very specific job, you know, like go check on the health of the server or, and, you know, and then you could just point to the whatever process ID or whatever it is, the name of the server or something. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I would need more like set of general cases to do that. Or if this is like sufficient to extend easily to run. Because you're saying like run the compute remotely, like just a job elsewhere?
So, like, I like the example of, let's say a bunch of files sitting in S3, right, that are like CSV files, right? I want to bring them in, right, and I'm gonna store them in locally running Postgres. So we need the Postgres service call as a dependency.
Yep.
I wrote a bunch of stuff, and, excuse me, if I need a box for the GPU, SSH should actually do the processing. But the end results, I don't want to sync it back to my local, to my large amount of stuff. I just want to say, right, this is pretty bucket.
Yep.
Right, so that context is like an ML pipeline, like not peak. But I would want to be able to schedule and manage, right, both the service dependency of Postgres and the use of like a EC2 box for the GPU and have not a bunch of data move around across the SSH channel, just have the final results down to S3.
Yep. So you're basically just saying like as a controller effectively, like never touching. Yeah, so you're just on the plus or minus, you're on the EC2 box.
Yeah.
And things are just shuffled around there. I mean, I don't know if that would be the only thing that you'd have to protect against, which I don't think does by default, would be the logging coming back. I mean, like if you redirected, you can obviously, you get no logs back. Kind of gets rid of the, you know, then it's hard to do the logging part. I mean, not hard, it's just you get nothing. So it does do like a more or less like a T inside. So it's capturing logs and you can also redirect if you choose. But it's not, you know, extensible to infinite number or infinite dimensions at this moment. But yeah, so you're saying like run it on, because right now if you do an SSH, like I run it on another server somewhere else, and the SSH runs, everything streams back like normal in SSH. So all the logs happen here. Like you say, the downside of that approach too is you lose because you don't have control on that server. If something goes with the network incorrectly, then your job is like lost, right? I mean, just like it is lost, it could be anywhere. But yeah, I don't know if there's a good. The system D thing I'm do wonder about, because that goes back to also like the health of the machines, right? Like, is your network, like, I'm not going to run the NIC on here, but I would like to have that knowledge as well. So those would be more, I think, things that might be like pre-canned jobs that you could just say, oh, give me a system D job that's touching, you know, and here's the name. How is there currently a set of tooling around that to give like observability to it?
Yeah, like, I use WordPress on right, like, and basically work with drivers for like upload in card or like a computer, that right? All those vendors are moving stuff over to system D, so you can do system control status, right, of an XYZ service, and that'll give you the same interface you have for this is now on their D, like the main drive or on Postgres.
Right.
And if you can just say, I can create a shell that lets me control it, observe it from here, but if you went in and just did this control restart Postgres, Redis, right, this will pick it up, but you can also control it from here.
Yeah. Is there actual like API, like C-level API endpoints to those, or are they just commands? I mean, either one would work, but like just the commands, it seems like you could just stuff in here if you gave me like an example of like, you know, the dumbest example you could imagine of how you would want to interact with it, it'd be interesting to see if I could just stuff it into the current. Because it's really just, I mean, it's running, if you can run it yourself, this can run it. And if this can run it, then it can pay attention to it. So then the question is like, would you have, you know, maybe you'd have instead of the job having maybe, yeah, that's right. That's okay. I don't think I had anything else here either. You know, sleep. I did beat it though. No, but you could have a job, I guess you're right. Like if the job had more control aspects to it, that'd be interesting. Like, so the job itself is more like not a standard job, but it was like a special job that has special controls to it. Yeah, that'd be interesting. And do you think there's enough? Is it, like, is the interface consistent enough that you could think through like this is what I want for the status, or this is how I'd get the status back? Like I assume it is, right? It must be.
To rotate logs, to update your packages, stuff like that. Red Hat has something like that, or something else Red Hat as well. There's something for it. Right? But the thing is like, it's only persistent stuff, and put your application in there, and almost like these package traces and file.
Yeah.
But if you're coming at the applications, like user standpoint, having folks in the consistent service care about could be too bad.
Yeah. So, and then the two options would be, like I say, you could still write them as specific jobs and do the same thing, and then let them still have the dependencies exposed within the system. But to your point, like if there's a finite number of these things that are useful, it might just be better to have like a back to, whatever the network or something, like, is the network up? It's like I can write code to do that clearly, but it'd be nice if if repeat actually was like, cognizant of the problem space. So like this will run on, for instance, this runs on Windows using the Linux subsystem, and it's cool because it all just works, but it has no hooks into like running a Windows, like a whatever. Maybe you can do that from Linux. Like it's this like weird backward path, which sounds horrible, probably more horrible than it even sounds. But yeah, I guess that'd be good. I think because anytime I have a network issue, it's just a giant problem because it's like I don't know what went wrong. Nothing went wrong on my side, but it's like I can't even see what's happening. So that would be handy. It's kind of like the health, like sort of a health parameter almost, because you wouldn't want to control it per se, right? You're mostly just paying attention to it. Yeah. Yeah, I gotcha. So just like extend the dependencies to non-jobs effectively, like external states, plus or minus.
Process on connection evolved. They sped up food processes by creating a DAG for all DAG, right? They created a DAG for all of the system units, right? So it's like this would be the next one.
Yeah. No, that's a good idea. So, but no, it doesn't have that. But I could. Did you have a question, Justin?
No, that was well, get your questions. So
Oh, sorry.
somebody asks, then try to question.
Okay, well, I can never repeat Jay's question, so let's pretend.
Right.
Yeah, no, it was basically, I don't know if I definitely didn't repeat the question. Whether or not we could tie external system events into the flow effectively, yes. Yeah, another thing that's also is going to get, and it has technically, is something like I referred to as job of jobs or job of jobs, kind of, where you could have like a master process that runs, either sequential or parallel jobs underneath. And you could obviously do it in one process, but then you don't have like some sort of like, I'm okay with 4 of them failing, or I'm okay with none of them failing, or so it's in there. It's just not very good right now. So it's kind of not exposed anymore because it became very, very tricky to manage the messaging. Super tricky, actually. So much so that I stopped doing it. Yes.
About writing emails. How you like tell me the idea.
Oh yeah, because we wanted, yeah. Well, in this case, like we wanted to not so much emails, but posts effectively, like scheduling off jobs that we're going to generate. Like we've got a lot of data, and the data that comes in is you can't really, no, you're not going to look at it all, but you definitely know what you're looking for. So like, for instance, earnings season, you might have 45 companies that you really want to know right away what their, top line revenue was or something like that. And to be able to then run custom, very easily add into the scheduler with the API, or just as static jobs that run every, they start up, they light up every second or every 5 minutes or whatever it is, or they're constantly running. And then they will just pick off like what new thing has come in and then generate the report and then send it along. Yeah. So things like that, like more business logic kind of stuff than just internal. Did we get everything? More like we can actually produce content for whatever, whether it's like another API endpoint, which is kind of what we do now, but maybe a little bit more language on top of it. Anybody? Good.
All right, thanks a lot for coming out to this meetup.